Here I'm going to walk through just briefly how to use this very handy, very easy to use template from w3Schools to create a jQuery or JavaScript, actually JavaScript, I take that back on the jQuery, a JavaScript slideshow. And our focus here is not on using JavaScript, but as HTML and CSS, front-end designers, how to work with a JavaScript template. And this is something that you're going to encounter over and over again. You don't need to know JavaScript, although I think an introductory level course, and we have one that's excellent here, is going to be helpful. But we're going to kind of put that aside and just put ourselves in the position of someone who knows HTML and CSS and has been asked to create a slideshow. It's possible to do that in HTML and CSS without JavaScript, but much more expedient, much easier, much less hassle, generally more effective, more options to avail yourself of a JavaScript template. So I'm here at w3Schools at their how-to slideshow. I will share that link with anybody who needs it. And I'm looking at the template here. It's a nice clean template. The images have been picked out. And I'm going to briefly study the example code. Okay, done. I fast forwarded through that. And I'm going to get right into the editing environment here at w3Schools. So the embedded style here connects closely with the JavaScript. So what we need to know as non-JavaScript coders is that we are going to need to be careful not to mess with things like class names or, well, class names specifically. And so we'll make edits very expeditiously, and we'll check everything. We'll run this as we make them. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is grab some our own images. Now, normally I would copy and paste this code into my code editor and I would use images from my own computer. But in order to work here in this template, I'm going to use images that are on the internet. And you could fulfill the assignment by doing that, but it would be better if you use your own images. So let me just scroll through here. So I'm going through the head element and looking at the CSS and just really noting very briefly how this is all put together, because mainly my role here as a designer is going to be to customize the slideshow by implementing my own images and captions. So let me go grab the first image that I've got selected here. Did a little research before I started the slideshow. Found some images through searching Google and looking for images that were free to use under any circumstances. I'm just going to briefly show how to do that. So if I go to Google, don't really have to search for Google. My images are of the Brooklyn Bridge, not the Brooklyn Nets. And when I find an image, I'm going to check the details and make sure that the permissions allow me to use this work under the Creative Commons license. So that was just a quick trip there, and you can do similar searches for Creative Commons images directly through Google Images. All right, I'm going to replace the first image here with one that I selected, and I'm going to run this, and there's my first image. And let me go get my second image. And look for the second. So number 1 I've replaced. Number 2 I will replace. Again, I'm checking everything right after I do it to make sure that everything works. Now, one thing that I've done in advance is I tried to select images that were very close to the same aspect ratio, that is the height to width, so that my slideshow doesn't jump around too much between images. Definitely, I'm going to avoid portrait-shaped images. And I'm going to rely on the script here to make this slideshow reasonably responsive so that it's functional on phones as well. Let me go get my third graphic, or my third photo. Of course, you could use this for non-photo graphics. And test 1, 2, and 3. 3 is a little different size. That's awkward. Ideally, I would probably edit these so that, you know, in Photoshop or even in Preview, just crop them so that they're all the same height and width. And for the caption text for each one of these, I would want to have a custom, obviously, text as well. So this isn't going to be the real caption. You'd come up with something more creative, but and again, you notice everything I type, I test. That could be tedious, but it's worth it. So this then is ready to copy and paste and edit, and I can make this into something that's more of a web page, either before or after copying this into my code editor. So if I wanted to just say I can add that to the top and you know, do other things that I want to do. I could do a little work with the body style. If I wanted to use a different font, I could. If I wanted to go dark screen, I could give that a try. So you can make judicious edits, that is, careful edits to the CSS. Now let's get a little adventurous and see if we can add a fourth slide. So I'm going to first of all go through and take a look at how all these work. So each slide is in a My Slides Fade class. And if I capture that whole div and copy it to the end of the set of slides, let's see if that's enough to be able to run 4 slides. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4 did successfully, well, did it or didn't it? We better change the caption at least so we know whether or not this worked. So let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, and yes, 4, and then we can change the message here to slide, whoops, not to slide, all these have to change to of 4, so 3 of 4, 2 of 4, and slide 1 of 4. I made a lot of changes there. Shouldn't have probably made so many at once, but let's test them. 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, And for 404, I think I actually did stash a fourth image. So let me go find slide 4 and replace the image for that. No. Accidentally hit my right mouse button. Let's see, is this, did I copy that correctly? Doesn't look like it to me. Let me try that one more time. Okay, that looks a little more like it. All right, let's try it. Slide 1's okay, slide 2's okay, slide 3's okay. And now we have a different slide 4. That 404 doesn't show up really well against that cloudy background, but that's an issue that I won't worry about at this stage at least. So I added a slide, I did a little bit of custom styling, and I embedded my own images. Went through that pretty quickly, but I think you can walk through it and adapt it yourself.